It's Saturday, July 28th, 2029. We've taken a big jump from opening day, but that's because the Sacramento Athletics season this year is not one to dwell on. They are 47 and 57 at the trade deadline, which is not where we'd like them to be. I'd say about 15 games under the pace that was projected. We were supposed to win 87 games this season. Does not look like that's going to happen. And actually, this is a big step back. Though our Pythagorean record is 52 and 52, which means that we're finally getting bitten by Lady Luck after 2 seasons of kind of outpacing that projection. Last season, 2 games above it. The season before, 7 games above it. Now we're 5 games below. So it's not like there's a lot of wholesale changes to be made anyways. We don't have guys that command a huge amount of attention on the trade market, but there are some players we can move. There are some players we've already moved, and let's take a look at those guys. As I go into the transaction history, we made 3 trades. Actually, I should say, to couch this, that I want to go here and here and here, that we started off rough, 10 and 18 in March and April, bounced back in May to go 18 and 11, and at a certain point we were 32 and 32 at 500 around this point, and then we slip off in June 10 and 17, and kind of more of a 500 team now in July. So that's all to say. I don't really know who we are. So we've made some moves to get some younger players on the team and try and move forward. So Anthony Maldonado was pitching terribly for us. A 15.43 ERA, obviously in only 7 innings pitched, but this was another very slow start for Maldonado. He'd only had, in the 5 seasons he'd played for us, only had 2 good seasons. He had 2 other seasons that were extremely bad, and then this one last year in 2028 where he was just kind of a mid-pitcher. I didn't have a space for that anymore. He was going to want more and more money in arbitration. He's 31. He's a righty. I was ready to move on. So for him, we traded for Yadiel Bautista, a lefty, who's now in AAA. He got a bit of time with us, but he had a very good season in 13 1/3 in Toronto, although the FIP is not on pace with the ERA. I still like the stuff. And I mean, like, it's a reliever for a reliever trade. We're getting younger. He has options. And he's fragile, so that's tough, but it's what you got to do when you're trading a reliever. Next trade up was Cutter Crawford, who was having a similarly awful year, albeit in more time playing. 40 1/3 innings, 6.02 ERA, and Crawford had messaged me saying that he was angry about whatever role he was in. He was our long man in the bullpen, so he was getting these innings without starting, and he wanted to be a starter, and I said, well, you stink, buddy. So I traded him almost immediately. I thought about releasing him, but the Nationals offered me Reggie Crawford, who's another lefty. We had a distinct lack of southpaws in our pen at this point in the season. And Crawford had a bad season ERA-wise with the Nats, so they were ready to move on from him. But with FIP, he's about a 3 to 4 FIP guy. And that was more than enough for me to want him. He's also, interestingly enough, kind of a former two-way prospect, I think, with the Giants in real life. I'm not sure if he's moved off that yet, but he's a first-round pick in 2022. For us, he will only pitch, and he's got one more option left, so we get some more flexibility in the bullpen. The control worries me, but he's got a good skill set, and he's going to be able to pump some innings for us, which is good. The final... Actually, we made 2 more trades. My bad. I forgot we made 2 1-for-1s. So, Reed Detmers was another guy who was just bad for us. He was a positive WAR player, but making so much money and starting that he wasn't really valuable. I was ready to move on from him. The Tigers wanted him. He's got a 9.28 ERA and 10 2/3 innings as a reliever in Detroit, and we're happy about the trade because we got Braden Montgomery, a switch-hitting outfielder on the minimum. His switch-hitting tendencies are more as a right-handed hitter against, his platoon splits are better against left-handed pitching, which means that he's more of a right-handed hitter than he is a left-handed hitter, which is kind of a shame. But the next trade will even that out for us. But anyways, he was bad in Detroit, a victim of low BABIP for him. I believe he's a pretty decent BABIP guy, 315 in his career. He's settled to around 355 with us, so maybe not, too low. But the big thing about Montgomery in Sacramento so far is his power. He's got 6 home runs and 70 plate appearances. Obviously, that won't last, but he's still a power guy, 14 homers and 286 plate appearances for Detroit. He's turned it around. It remains to be seen if he continues to do that, but should be a better fielder and right with this arm. I don't know. He's an interesting player, and we got him basically for free. I think it cost us $100,000 with the money we retained on Detmers. And with the, he's on the minimum. He's flexible. He's got options. And with some moves we'll probably have to begin to make in the outfield. I was happy to add him. Now, the offsetting trade for this, given that he's a hitter that's better against left-handed pitching, was that we needed to move on from a righty outfielder, and that was Justin Henry Malloy. So one current Tiger out the door for a former Tiger. Malloy was bad, negative .9 WAR, 53 OPS plus. He just never put it together for us. When we first traded for him last year, he had a slow start, rebounded towards the end of the year, and then just a terrible start. The BABIP's very low, but I needed to move on from him. I was going to non-tender him in free agency, and I needed to open up at bats. He wasn't willing to go down to AAA. So we pick up Troy Melton, who's actually a Tiger draft pick in real life, but was on the Yankees, actually San Diego in this, because he was traded for by the Yankees, then waived, then picked up by San Diego. But he was a fourth-round pick of the Tigers in 2022. So we're stacking the deck with Tigers. I just drafted a lot of Michiganders, so I'm happy about that. But Melton has been a good ERA for us, and he's another guy actually out of options after this season. So, we'll see if he sticks around, but it's more just we saved like $2 million trading Malloy when we did, so I was happy to do that. Let's go into the draft now that we're talking about it. So, we had the 14th overall pick, and we selected Joe Little, who is now the number 25 prospect in baseball. It was between him and some really good high school hitting prospects, but I thought Little was so far along that I couldn't pass him up. You'll see in a minute, our situation at starting pitcher has been rough over the past few years, having to cycle out 3 to 4 to 5 guys every year in free agency just because we don't have guys under team control. So Little hopefully will remedy that. He's in the draft league right now, but probably will start next year in Double-A, or maybe High A to start. But he's nearly ready to go already. Josh Mallard, now the number 91 prospect in baseball. I took him because he's a lefty, even though he's a high schooler. He's pretty far along. He's from Burton, Michigan, which is right outside of Flint. Bo, that's enough out of you. Mallard, 91 prospect in baseball. He's got to develop. He's a high schooler. No. Josh Dolphinbaugh. I'm not sure. Hold on. I got to put him in the crate. Sorry about that. Dolphinbaugh, 3rd round pick, hitting very poorly in high A in low A, as you can see, as I've left you. 60 power potential. I don't know. He was a good looking player. This draft class was not exceptionally well rounded, in my opinion. There were some high potential players, but they all had their flaws. Brad Anderson from Detroit, 85 stuff potential. He was one of the best remaining players. Obviously, that's why I took him. He was one of the best remaining players. Kind of a two-way player, not really. But the stuff is his selling point at 18. High school pitcher in the 4th round, sure, whatever. Now we moved into college players. Jeff Wagner, who lit up low A in 103 plate appearances, is now in high A at 22. He's kind of old even for that level. Kind of a second baseman, but will probably end up playing first. And if the bat develops, he can be a good bench kind of platoon righty first base option. That's a good 5th round pick outcome. Andy Eggers, 21-year-old catcher. Decent skill set. He is in the draft league as well. Josh Hansen I really like. He's now in high A at 21. He's also kind of a two-way player. He, right now, is only a DH there, which makes sense. He should be a first baseman, though. I should be able to just train him real quick to be able to play first, because that doesn't make any sense that he can't. No high schooler that can hit a little bit has no experience playing first base. Even if they can't play a position, with these ratings, he probably was playing second base in college or in high school. Anyways, Hanson, Gray, decent closer. Pautsu Lam, I like the power potential, and then it's another few guys that are whatever. Yeah. So we'll see if they come along. That was the draft. We'll do some prospects real quick. This is going to be a bigger video just because I waited so long. So, Grady Emerson in Double-A isn't hitting spectacularly, but he's still a positive WAR player. He's angry, which is annoying, but he is trending along enough that he should be knocking on the door next season. Maurice Albaladejo. I need to get that down. 75 infield range. The potential's come up now to 45. If he can fully max this out, that's a very good player to have at shortstop. I don't care if he can't hit really, but it's an amazing defensive profile. So we got him. We've got all these guys in AAA. Acosta, Cozart, and Duno are hitting spectacular. Martinez will be the replacement for the guy that we're about to trade. Cole Mathis, doing pretty good after injury. And Tim McFarland, another catcher. We have a catcher situation, which may cause us to move on from Susac in the offseason. And then the rest of the guys are a smattering of different kinds of player. Lower, Ernesto Garces, I need to hit better. A lot of these guys, the ratings are there for them to be at this level, but they just cannot produce, and it's frustrating. But that's what prospects are, especially when you have guys like this with so many high potential guys. They're not all going to produce, so you have to expect that kind of variance and disappointment to get to the major league roster. The reason why we're bad is because we have finally a top half American League offense, but the pitching is not good. It's just we are 14th in starter ERA. A large part of that had to do with Detmers, who's now no longer on the team. The bullpen's still okay, but it's the ERA is not really where I want it. The FIP is low. The pitching WAR is low. Strikeouts are still high, but not high enough. And the offense isn't pulling enough weight to get us to 500, though we should still be at 500 by the Pythagorean record. Mitch Spence back with us, a minor league free agent, signing our best pitcher this season. Who could have saw that coming when we let him go after being a Rule 5 pick? He had 2 good seasons in Chicago, but now the best season of his career, arguably. Here, his first full season in Sacramento after being awful for us in 2024. Joan Adon, also very good. He's split time between the bullpen and as a starter. I guess he's been an average player, not very good. He 3.26, 5.3 ERA in Washington in 2025. He's not that level yet. Now he's actually listed as our closer. I don't know. He's a free agent after the year, but he didn't gather any interest on the trade market. Emerson Hancock, back in the starting rotation. He is a quality piece to have, as he has been. Same with Christopher Sanchez, another guy who started some games. We've been very flexible with who gets the bulk of our innings. Sanchez, also a free agent after the year, didn't generate much interest too, but he has been a quality player for us. Crawford, we talked about. Cody Funderburk, again, having a good year for us. This actually is the best season of his career. 2.36 ERA after 3.18 last season, finally finding his footing at the major league level. Very happy to see that from Funderburk. Only probably cost under $2 million in arbitration following the year. Jesus Garindo, not the league average starter to which we have grown accustomed this season. Hopefully he continues to trend up after a pretty good month of June, a poor month of July. Who knows what we'll get from Garindo? I'm still debating whether or not to bring him back. He's going to want about $6 million in arbitration. We'll see. That's not a big cost, especially with the lack of continuity we've had in the starting rotation. over the past few years. Jorge Macheco is our pitching all-star. Henry Bolte went to the all-star game once again in the outfield. Macheco, 2.19 ERA. The FIP lagging behind, but this ERA was good enough to get him into the Summer Classic. So, Midsummer Classic, I should say. Stuff's hot. The ratings have always been there. It's just been a matter of if he can put it together. He started to a bit last season, had some starts, but now exclusively out of the pen has fared very, very well. J.P. Sears back on the team. He was pitching much better than he has been recently after a really nice start of the year in April. Now coming out of the pen, his production has lagged behind, although he's still been pretty shut down. I just don't know why he's not in the starting rotation. Joey Estes, very good ERA, 3.25. The FIP lags behind, but that's okay when the production is there on the field, and he's still on the minimum. Nick Frasso, going to go to arbitration next season, 3.76 ERA, just an average reliever. He's always been this way. I wish that he could have molded himself into a starter, but we'll take this outcome as well. Troy Melton back up. And then Pat Brasseur has made 3 starts at the major league level, 7.90 ERA. Hasn't gotten there quite yet, but the ratings are good enough that I would expect him to bounce back. Obviously, our number 49 prospect in baseball. He was our second-round pick in 2027 out of college, and Brasseur represents kind of the first shot, I guess the second shot, as I'll show you in a moment, to tell the league that our young kids are coming. So we did have one other young kid come up. Connor Griffin came up for 2 games after an injury to Denzel Clark. This is another reason why I just steamrolled through the season, because this disappointed me. His range came up to 70, but he ruptured his MCL and is out for the entire season. I'm not sure. Yes, he does accrue Major League Service time on the injured list, so we lose a year of minor league salary. Quite honestly, the worst possible outcome. So he'll get 1 more minimum salary year next season, then a year of arbitration, and then 4 years of team control. So we don't lose a year of team control, but we lose the minimum salary for a year, which is huge for us because he's projected to immediately be worth a bit of money, and it's disappointing financially and just based on the fact that he's ready to go right now. So that stinks. He's our only long-term injury besides Trace Bright, who was injured in spring training at the beginning of the year. So who has picked up the slack? Henry Bolte. Not as good as last season. Going to end up about 10 homers short probably, and about 10 OPS plus short, but still quality. 2 all-star appearances. He has been the best hitter in our simulation over the last few years. I guess, most exciting hitter, I would say. Manuel Pena has just kind of been there and been solid. League average hitter, good defense at shortstop. Well, replaceable defense at shortstop, but good defense at second and third. And I don't. He's been starting at short just because they don't want to start Nasim Nunez, which I'm frustrated with. And they're putting Nunez at second, which should not be the case. Can I change this? Here's my boy, Pena. Can we flip that? Yes. Okay. They kept doing that automatically. Denzel Clark back to normal. Even with the low BABIP, his power has returned, and he's still going to miss about 40 games this year, but we'll take the outcome with him. Just happy to see him going strong. Gold Glove caliber center fielder once again. Daniel Suzak, 10% above league average, on pace for 20 bombs. This is his breakout year after a pretty good year last season, value-wise for us, but finally as an overall player breaking out, and we're happy to see that. Lawrence Butler, same old, same old. I'm so happy I didn't trade him 2 years ago after thinking this was the peak. The BABIP has stayed at this level, and he has really been our best position player throughout this sim, even with a rough start before the age of 26. Austin Charles, getting very lucky here for us in 168 plate appearances, 353 BABIP, 150 OPS plus. He's been a boon in the infield. Bobby Hunter, our main starter at third base, slightly above league average. Now, we're not blowing the doors apart with any of our players, but finally having an offense where almost everybody is a league average hitter or above it is a huge deal for us. So Hunter's one of those guys. So happy we traded for him almost immediately, getting the return on investment there. Aaron Bracco, I don't know why he's not starting more games. His platoon splits are pretty bad, yes, but I still think he's a good enough player to be playing every single day against right-handed pitching. Obviously, he's showing that 135 OPS plus. I guess if he's a pure platoon hitter, he's a better kind of player than Mervis, and I guess that's okay. Sal Frelick, disappointed in him. We have him signed for 2 more seasons, but I might show you a trade in a second that I have cooked up that may move Frelick away from Sacramento. Ronald Hernandez, we're swimming in it at catcher. We got 3 prospects in the minors. We got Hernandez producing as the backup to Suzak, and it's looking good at that position after looking very dire after Langoliers left. Nasim Nunez, again, the range is there, but the bat has not been this season, and it seems like last season's beginning was the aberration, and he is really a 60 OPS plus kind of guy. Miguel Vargas, struggling this season. Have no fear. I got something cooking. BABIP's a little low, but I think this is the beginning of the end for him, and he is a free agent after the year. Braden Montgomery, talked about him, and that rounds out the lineup. So, what are the moves that we're thinking about making on the trade market? I've looked at some trades. I think I'm going to pull the trigger on a few of them. Might talk about a few others. So let's talk about this one. J.P. Sears for Dylan Beavers. He's getting paid more. He's in arbitration next season. I don't think he's that quality of a bat. I just don't find him to be a good enough player unless we can retain most of this salary. So we can. Doesn't have options left. I just don't see him being like a really good player. And he's been good in Baltimore. I just don't like it. I don't like this deal. I don't feel like it'll be good for us. They need to trade people, though. Yeah, they really need to trade some people. They got Dalton Varsho. They have no money. So can I get anybody good? What about Stanberry? No. I don't know. I'm not in love with this guy, and so I'm not going to trade for him. So that one will be deleted. Sears will stay on the trade block, though, until the deadline. These are 2 trades that I am going to make. This one for sure, Miguel Vargas and Trent Grisham, who's hurt, and I don't really care. For Brandon Barrera, who is having a spectacular season in AAA for the Angels, and Wilkeman Gonzalez, who is a pretty good-looking pitcher, and we need pitchers under team control that aren't expensive, and these 2 guys fit that bill. So Gonzalez is a righty, Barrera is a lefty. Gonzalez, where did he win the World Series? 2026 with Boston. Okay, so he's a Red Sox prospect now with the Angels at 27, going to turn 28 next season. So I'm happy with this. Vargas, like I said, I think he's going to fall off pretty soon. So save about $1.7 million by making this deal. Is there anybody else we can get? Anybody else I want? We're going to have... Byron Churio is on waivers just now. Yeah, so we can claim him. Is he against lefties or against righties kind of switch hitter? Against lefties. We just don't need that. Can I retain some money and save some money? We're penny pinchers. This is what we have to do. So save about $300,000 more dollars. I'll make that trade. And we don't even get a ding for Tragan Vargas, who's been on the team for a very long time. We traded for him from the Dodgers for Alex Wood in the first season deadline. And he's been here for that long, and nobody really cares that he's moving on. So that is a win in my book because we are still having to worry about our fan interest. That's an owner goal that we have. So we'll add Gonzalez. I guess I'll have to make this trade for Frelick now. So we're going to trade Sal Frelick. I think we can do it. I don't really want his money on the books for next season. So, and this was a great offer that the Guardians were offering. Jace Young, Yordis Valdez, who was a star in our White Sox sim last year, and Milan Tolentino, 2 guys on minor league deals and Young on the minimum, so we'll save about $1 million for Frelick, and I'm done with him. So Frelick's gone. Sears will stay on the block, and now we have to find spots for these guys. I think he can just go down, right? Yeah. And now Barrera. So we need 2 hitters and 1 fewer pitcher. I could DFA Melton, no problem. We need the spot anyways. So I want Barrera, and I'll option you. Probably have him up a little bit later in the year. And we need to find a spot for Jace Young. Do we have a bat we'd like to DFA? I had Hedberg Perez come up for a bit, and he actually fared well in 17 plate appearances, so I don't want to DFA him. Gabriel Martinez has to come up. Then I'm not sure, man. Victor Acosta is hitting well. We need 2 outfielders. Pitchers we can DFA. Caden Grice, I just don't see it from him, to be honest, with the control. Does Jace Young fit with this right now? What does the lineup look like? He's at first as a lefty, but that leaves Bracco cut out of it, which I don't really like. But I guess he can play everywhere for the most part. I mean, that's fine. If he can play against everybody. Not really, though. But he's a good player. And we move on from Vargas for a guy who could actually play, if not better than the same. Okay, I'm good with that. Gonzalez slides into the starting rotation as the number 2. And we pick up another bat. So those 2 trades actually improve the Major League club more than they take away from it, surprisingly. Now, maybe we have some issues in the outfield, but I think we're good there. So I'll probably sim to the end of the year, and I'll tell you what I do with JP Sears and anybody else I'll trade. But for now, this is what we got going, and maybe this is the blip in the road, and the next season we take a big jump. Who knows? Hopefully, please, this is year 6. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later this week. Bye-bye.